Hello everyone, this is Fantastic Worlds, welcoming you back to Lovecraft Country and Control, Lore and Chill, where we go over the similarities between the remedied shared universe and the ancient heretical system of Christianity known as Gnosticism. Now, this makes it a little confusing if you haven't been with us since the beginning, so I'm going to put a link up there to the right, and I suggest you start at the first episode and work your way down here, because I'm going to have to assume that you already know what I'm talking about at this point forward, or you already know Gnosticism pretty well yourself. In any case, why am I starting at the starting screen? Well, like we did for last episode regarding the Void, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be going over is hidden in plain sight. For example, on the starting screen, this is the Void, but it is also Polaris. In fact, the only reason you can see the Void is that it's in contrast with Polaris themselves. Now, I'm going to be using them to describe Polaris, although Jesse does refer to her as she. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, obviously, Polaris is a living vibration. In fact, what you see right here on the screen is not Polaris. What you are seeing is Polaris's effect on the void around them. Polaris is, like I stated before, a living vibration. Now, the difference between that and the vibrations that create our universe through the what I've explained before in episode 1 is that unlike the vibrations, which are pretty stable, in other words, like the ones that represent the physical world around you or your own body, the vibrations of what the type of being that Polaris is sentient and can change and alter and manipulate the world around them, depending the effect, of course, and how dense the material around them is. For example, within the void, as you can see, Polaris can essentially be like a wind on the ocean. There's no resistance in the void whatsoever. This is probably the state Polaris was in when Jesse and Dylan first found Polaris. Now, when Polaris is inside Jesse, Polaris's abilities are limited. In other words, Polaris requires one of the control points that you collect in order to reshape or claim the reality around them. Now, we're going into why this is more important than possibly the entire game itself, but for now, let's discuss what Polaris is. And for that, I'm going to shift back into the material world so you have something else to look at. Hang on. Alright, so yeah, I'm still rocking the janitor look here, so yeah, I'm going to save the rest for the actual episodes themselves, but for now, you know, we are a proud employee of the Federal Bureau of Control, and of course a blue-collar worker. But in any case, let's get to wandering a bit. Now, I'm going to do something that's probably a bit off, thanks. I am currently using the grip gun. Now, you may or may not know, last episode, when I was doing side treks, I discovered that you can get what's called the Eternal Fire mod, which means that it automatically refunds any bullet that I use to hit an enemy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the rate of fire here with 31 by 30%, increase the damage per each shot, and see if it actually does better than my spin gun. This ought to be kind of interesting. Let's see, where should we go? All right, let's go this way. You know, I never actually checked these whiteboards, but... Really? Really? We're claiming favoritism? God damn you guys. You guys I like, though. Alright. So yeah, we're going to hopefully... That's not bad. We'll see what the damage load is. In any case, we're going to go over what the hell Polaris is. Polaris is what I've called an Aeon. Now, an Aeon is a type of being that serves the Most High, either directly or from another system. Hey, I like it. From another system. Oh, that sucked. Yeah, I can change the Z-axis, guys. Oh, I'm not... I don't know, I kind of like this. Of course, this is when I'm using the actual gun and not just throwing telekinetically around. And I never run out of ammo if I hit, which is great. I gotta watch my shots, though. Come on, guys. Steady shots. Don't overuse your ammo here. Alright. Wasn't seeing that coming, now were you? Oh. Fired. Oh, wait. You're one of us. My apologies. Okay, sorry about that, but I gotta say that was probably a successful test. Yeah. Alright. So in any case, let's talk about what an Aeon is. An Aeon is a being that serves the Most High or a servant of the Most High. And you can probably have an entire chain of command going here and there. Give me a moment. Come on. In which, the Most High gives a command, it passes on. Okay, I'm going to spare you this one. Well, as you can see, things got a little hectic. Anyways, so yeah, an Aeon. Aeon, like I said, is a servant of the Most High, directly or indirectly, and they are created for specific purposes, or assigned specific purposes if they were already an existing entity. Now, Polaris, to me, feels like a created entity as a reaction to the Hiss, because after all, it's not really, kind of a coincidence that we happen to be possessed, Jesse happens to be possessed by the entity that can, in fact, undo and block the Hiss frequency. Now remember, as I told you last time, the Hiss is a group mind created in an attempt to stave off the end of a previous age of creation, when God decided to call it quits. In other words, there were too many bugs in the code and just really trying to sort out all the problems. It became too much. They just press the reset button, contracts the universe back into the void, puts everybody to well-deserved death sleep, and then just simply, calls it a day and starts creating the next age. But apparently, between the mold and the Hiss, there's some people who take exception to that and attempted to use whatever severe knowledge they had in it to create forms that would survive in the void between ages, and then, I guess, try to colonize the age afterwards and remake it in their image, essentially declaring war on their own creator, which is really, historically, never gone well. I mean, I don't know if it's gone well. Hang on. God, I gotta work on the accuracy of this thing. So, yeah. So, what happens is that, for crying out loud. Guys, call it a day, would you? Oh, I thought I could catch that on the way down. Oh, well. Wait, is there anyone actually shooting at me? There was. Anyways. So, yeah. Quiet time. See you there, too. All right. Take a break. All right, so God has a problem. God has a infection in... Oh, excuse me. Dude! I was talking! Gods, people. Rude. And why does it just materialize one on me? I don't know. Anyway, so God has a problem. He has an infection called the Hiss. It's attempting to eat through his creation because apparently they didn't like being considered a failed prototype. Now, I can understand this, but... the correct way to do that is to perhaps consult with the person that has made the judgment with you and not attempt to eat everybody else in the universe. Take a freaking look here. This is what the Hiss would reduce all of creation to, because we know that, because Jesse's brother has, in fact, declared that. And as I was pointing out right here, this is what the mold would turn the universe into, because it's all it can do. As I told before, the degeneration of organic material or spiritual material, whatever you want to call the medium in which the soul exists, is going to degrade into nothing more than a mindless desire to consume and continue because, well, they're capable of producing a soul. And therefore, whatever half-ass substitutes they create, like a vibrational frequency device we've got going on here with the Hiss or whatever it was, that converted everybody into vibrational energy. Now that remains a problem. So God likes the problems fixed. So the Most High is going to just basically create an entity whose very job is to destroy the Hiss. That's all it's for. So therefore it is a single-minded entity that, in fact, will do the job as best it can. Now I always like to check in these places in case I missed anything. Will do the job as best it can, or, die trying. So considering it's an immortal entity, pretty much the second option is not an option here. But anyways, this is a vibrational being that exists at a higher frequency, but in order to operate within our reality, it requires an avatar, the person we're looking for, Jesse Faden. Now, remember, it was choosing two avatars. Both Jesse and Dylan are capable of providing a host for Polaris, but Dylan felt abandoned. Oh, there you are. I was wondering where you were. I could hear you, but I couldn't see you. Dylan would prove to be problematic. Now, this is whether or not this is because there's some sort of functional problem with Dylan being damaged before, and thus the exposure to the high frequency energies of first the Polaris and the Hiss kind of affecting him more, or whether or not this is a psychosis. Remember, he's murdered several people by this point. Before the Hiss ever showed up. That we don't know. We have no idea where this problem came from, but the problem exists. Guys, just chill. Hate when they do that. Interrupting people's road. And let me guess, if you materialize in there, will you materialize in here? Ha! Fooled you. I like this place, but they keep materializing enemies. Now, I don't think I can get up into these. Seriously, what's this? Oh, wait, that's... Oh, I see. I do like the continuity of architecture. Can I land on this? Sorry, I do get distracted. Anyways, so yeah, the concept being is that Polaris could not use Dylan as a host in this universe. There are alternate concepts of universe, not alternate universes. I don't believe there is a million infinite universes out there, but I believe the potential for those universes existing exists. And this is what we projected to with the mirror. Remember how I described in the episode regarding the mirror that it was a virtual reality, not an actual reality. It didn't have any existence in itself, but remained only a reflection of our universe that contained a reflection of anybody who goes into it. In this case, it was, of course, Jesse. Jesse's quote-unquote dark side, Esage, who really, as Jesse puts it, was a pale reflection. Okay, so that leaves Jesse as the only host. Now, remember, Jesse says that she wasn't always occupied by Polaris. Now, there could be multiple reasons for that. One of which, as I explained with Dylan, the exposure to high-frequency energies might have been too much for Dylan and caused the crack if he was attempted to be the first so-called, yeah, we're not going that way. If it could, for a host. So, instead, Polaris kind of decided to let Jesse grow up. Now, one of the reasons this could have been is that Dylan was a developing child. So therefore, as a result, frankly, we need like plants here. Anyways, as a result, the damage to him while he was still developing by the exposure to high frequency energies was sufficient to cause him to become unstable. Later on, these cracks would increase because remember, when Dylan was brought here to the Bureau, the Great Bureau, he was exposed to the vibration of the board, aka the Watchers, corrupt former Seraphim. So that energy soaks into him. He's already unstable. He starts to become like them, a complete sociopath, only concerned with possessing power and control over other beings. So, god damn it. The Hiss won't even clean this up, will they? So he ends up becoming, the problem that he is. I think the way he's decided to throw his lot in with the Hiss instead of the board, which is interesting. And then I think the Hiss gives him a purpose where the board's purpose, what it's giving Jesse, is that she has the cleaning up essentially their mess. But the Hiss has a proactive decision. Its job is to try to convert the entire universe into a state it prefers in defiance of the Most High. So, since Polaris couldn't take Dylan well as a host, and now Dylan has completely refused him, I'm guessing Polaris probably could heal him at this point, but kind of prefers being what he is. Jesse is the host. And as a result, Polaris's form is now merged. No. Polaris's form is now merged with Jesse's. So, and that includes, by the way, whenever Jesse dies, the Polaris just reboots her by reconstructing her molecular structure and placing her consciousness in. Because the two are bonded, essentially, Jesse is copied onto Polaris. Polaris is eternal. Therefore, so long as Polaris has access to the energy, Polaris can reconstruct, but you have to reconstruct at one of the control circles because that is the only place where reality is malleable enough for Polaris to bring in additional material, to create organic material. Because as an Aeon, in working for the Most High, all of their access is still there. The access that the Fallen, such as the Hiss and the Watchers/boards have, that access denied. They cannot draw upon the eternal source to create. Polaris can. Therefore, Polaris recreates Jesse's form and reestablishes her consciousness every time the board.
The executive bathroom hadn't shifted away. I'd kill for a shower.
Point. Pope, working on a shower. Anyways, so yeah, what you end up with is essentially an immortal being. Jesse is now physically immortal until such time as another form entropy destroys her form. In other words, I'm pretty sure there's only so long a human consciousness can be extended in this fashion. So therefore, she's going to die in some fashion. Whether or not this was a form of physical death and whatever happens beyond that point, beyond Polaris' ability to reconstruct, or whether or not, what is that? Looks like a bad with circuits. Anyways, unless it's a physical map, man, look like, yeesh, looks like a incredibly corrupt bunch of people. Must be the board. Anyways, or development team. Sorry, make joke. Anyways, so what? And of course, the other form is transformation. Now, we've already seen one person transform. That's Casper. In other words, okay, why am I blanking on the doctor that we already have seen all the pictures about? Literally blasted himself to the point with, not going to touch that, with a point to where he was dissolved into the vibration and transformed to become an energy being within it. Now, the reason for that is probably the form that the doctor wears is not suited to combat. It's too old, fragile compared to Jesse's form, which can be modified and repaired, as we've been doing. Remember the astral constructs we make? Jesse's body is an astral construct. Remember, her physical body died the first time you die. It literally got torn apart the moment I got outside the doors here, and then was reconstructed into a vibrational form that Polaris can reconstruct at will. And then we can just use our personal mods to completely reconstruct ourselves. Give me a second here. Yep, that's the one I'm going to blow. Yeah, all of this is literally Jessie reconstructing her form in new and various ways. Oh, come on. All right, so knock it off. All right, in new and various ways to improve them. In this case, I've boosted, health, recovery, and energy, because I will always go for the basics. Basically, spam my health in. Yeah, we don't want to talk to him. But for crying out loud, keyboard's giving me issues. It's a good thing I'm not actually playing. Okay, that's a little better. Anyways, yeah, let's get away from our creepy brother. I mean, when I go into him, oh god, do I have so much to say. I mean, like, Psychology 101 would have so much to say. In any case, yeah. So Jesse's form is now a vibrational construct, which can be created or dissipated at will by Polaris, because as you know, Polaris, when we fast travel, we're literally deconstructing our body and reconstructing it somewhere else, of course, and they only can do these circles because this is the point where reality is malleable enough to do so. And let's put that to work, shall we? Okay, quick. Had a little bit of a scuffle here. Anyways, so yeah, thing is, once you get to a certain level, the executive protection, personnel protection missions become absolutely impossible. I mean, the monsters just turn your rangers into a wet smushy. Anyways, so as I was saying, so Jesse's vibrational form can, of course, transport to any other location where reality is fluid enough. Now, this means that essentially Polaris has been given the ability to a portion of the creator's ability to reshape the universe. Now, again, this is all for one purpose, to contain the hiss. Polaris is considered to be contained in the hiss, but as we know, Polaris didn't start off in this universe. It started off in the hiss's universe of origin, which was accessed by Jessie and her friends with the slide projector, which, of course, is the item that we're currently in the main... Okay, that was good. In the main story about to get to. So, when the breach happened, what was the conditions between the hiss and Polaris? The conditions is that the hiss was contained. That universe had 5 gigantic pillars, likely acting as tuning forks, creating a prison for the hiss. Now the question is, why contain the hiss rather than just destroy it? Few reasons in that regard. One, it could be that in giving the Polaris the ability to destroy something that large could have caused imbalance to the greater system. Essentially, you're talking about giving an entity a judge, jury, and executioner duty for something that large, and give them the ability to destroy the others that's large. The other is that it's part of, God's master plan. Now, my guess is with, God, is that half of this is planned and half of it is improvised, because that's the nature of free will. So containing the hiss could be important for future plans for the Most High. Now, what would those plans be, do you think? Well, we're actually going to get into that when we get to God's evil plan, which is exactly what it says, probably the next episode. But in this case, we're just going to assume that there is a reason to do so. That there is, yeah, I'm just going to check the board. It's probably nothing interesting. Yeah, a whole bunch of equations. Now, if any of you actually know equations, it's pointed out a lot of times that people who do this sort of games don't realize what equations would actually be on blackboards. In fact, in Half-Life, the beginning, there's people examining the equation for gravity, which, you know, if you're a particle physicist, you should have probably already memorized by now, but you know how it works. You get a little busy activating a resonance cadence to almost end the world. Hey, does that sound familiar? And, you know, sometimes you just let these things slip. Anyways, yeah. So, the Aeon. So, now we have the Polaris within that dimension now holding the Hiss captive. But Jesse breaches the prison. So, therefore, what happens is Polaris goes on to programming to locate... Oh, hang on, guys. Okay, after that little side trip with explosives. So, yes, let's talk about what Polaris' purpose is. Now, when a being is created by the Most High, it is given a specific purpose. That is its purpose, that is its name, that is what identifies what it does. In fact, there's one indigenous saying, supposedly, that I've heard that says that humanity, or at least is one of the few species that cannot know what its purpose is. So, yeah, a bit of a dig there. So, oh, for crying out loud. Excuse me. No, I was doing a perfectly good monologue here, and frankly, you're just going to have to listen to it. So, Polaris only identifies anything in the world in relation to its purpose. Now, that means that when you saw Jesse and Dylan, the only thing going through Polaris' head was not, you know, this should be friendly to the kids, but that this isn't something that can help me do my mission. So, yeah, it's a bit of a using thing, but if you think about it, it's been created for this purpose, and it's used for this purpose by the Most High. So, whether the nature of free will comes into this at all is completely up to your interpretation. Is there free will? Or are we all just doing predestination? In any case, because the Hiss was relatively contained within the slide projector within the oldest house, except for a small infection within Director Trench himself, that meant that Polaris was not activated. It was essentially just sleeping within the void between worlds. And then suddenly, when the crisis was about to occur, it summoned its only available vessel, which of course is Jesse, to be in the right place at the right time, then possessed them, then gave them the vibrational body, after the first death, of course, necessary to carry out the tasks that Polaris desires to take out. I mean, that is their relationship. One is guiding the other, if you want to put it that way, or controlling, which of course is one of the main things that this game's about, who's controlling what and for what purpose. So in this case, this is the indirect things. Now, because the Most High is given one who gave this prerogative, you can decide whether or not creating the universe means it has the right to do whatever it wants to with any of the creations for the purpose of maintaining said creation. I got a better one. Oh, when it hits. Ooh, that body flew. Yeah, go ahead. Cover. Really gonna help you there. Oh, it did. Wow. Impressive. Oh my god. You guys. That's gonna cause some popcorn explosions. Anybody else? And you. You're not really in the mood for a fight, and you want to vary your up from telekinesis. So, yeah. So, is Jesse the slave of Polaris, as Dylan says so? Because Dylan voluntarily let the Hiss in, but Dylan, of course, by that prerogative, is a slave of the Fallen. The two of them are enacting the conflict that happens between Polaris and Hiss at a lower vibrational level, at the material level, while their battle occurs at the energetic or higher spiritual level, possibly even semi-divine, depending on how you perceive things. So what happens is that the relationship between Polaris and the Hiss, and of course the mold and the Bureau themselves, is essentially the relationship that Jesse will have with them. To some degree. Again, we'll go over that when we go over God's evil plan. But, yeah, as much as I like running about here, the color scheme is always drab in this place. God damn it. When I become director for realsies, I'm going to have to do some redecorating pinatas. So, yeah. We've got a little time, I think, before anything respawns. As you can see, it's like practicing with the telekinesis sometimes. Both in throwing things and flying myself around. So, yeah, what happens is that Jesse is the vessel for this continuing conflict, for this continuing process that the Most High is trying to complete with elimination or containing the hiss. It's probably containing at this point because I don't think we have once we shut down the light projector, at this point we will be cutting off the rules of reality that allow the hiss to exist within this reality, and thus they will be incompatible with this reality. Now, Polaris, being created by the Most High, is always compatible with every reality because, as the Most High / God can get into anywhere, he can authorize anyone else, like per se Jesse when he gave her the Walkman to get through the ashtray maze. There's no door that can hold Polaris out unless it chooses to be contained by the very rules of the universe that we're in. So in this universe, because of the limitations of what the Watchers have done to this world, we have in fact required physical form. Anyways, I'll get into that in a moment. Now, what's interesting, by the way, is that by one mystic's point of view, we are creations and we are meant to create. If you think about it, the Most High created Polaris. Polaris has now created Jesse 2.0, the post-human vibrational construct inhabited by a former human soul, now capable of reviving the self beyond physical death, as well as self-modification through astral engineering. So, yeah, Jesse's a vibrational terminator. Anyways, so that's one of the things I like about this game is that it does, the more you think about it, the crazier it gets. But yeah, Polaris is constructed to contain the hiss. The hiss ring breach. First thing Polaris does is basically replicate its own creation to create another vessel capable of doing so in the physical world. Because as I mentioned before, Polaris, being a vibrational entity of pure energy, cannot alter solid matter very well. So in order to play by the keyboard's going again. In order to play by the same rules that physical matter does, they have to create a construct of physical matter, and rather than creating a golem or a robot or, a soulless construct like the hiss does, or the mold people by the mold, it in fact absorbs and creates, basically rebirths, a human being of high psychic potential to essentially become a minor Aeon themselves, whose job is now to, well, that's interesting now, isn't it? How is it that Polaris, who's working for the Most High, the very entity that the Watchers themselves have defied, would choose an entity and then have them bound to the board, which is the enemy of the Most High? Why would they do that? Now, we all know about the old saying about God works in mysterious ways, but he also cheats. And that's what we're going to be going over next episode. So this is Fantastic World saying farewell from Lovecraft Country and Control, Lore, and Chill. We start diving, next of these episodes, we'll start diving into the vast labyrinth of deception and misdirection that the Most High, through its various agents, including a certain janitor, has been manipulating the situation to benefit them. And like I said, the episode's name will be God's Evil Plan. But, of course, if you're watching the main story, next episode, by next week, will probably be the final episode of the main storyline, episode 13. And after that, we'll be diving into the Foundation, the first DLC. Eventually, we'll make our way to Alan Wake Experience. But, of course, if you like this, like, share, subscribe. And if you really like it, down below are links to the Gumroad payment platform. You can become a supporter. And you get access to additional material and unlock additional material here. As addition, any cultists or higher supporters get access to Lovecraft After Dark, which is an additional monthly series. So, with that being said, I will see you next time. Bye.